Alexander Cavendish, millionaire tech mogul, was a man who seemed to have it all. From his luxurious office perched high above the city, he commanded a vast empire of technology and innovation. His name was synonymous with success, and his presence exuded confidence and power. Known for his sharp suits, sharper wit, and even sharper business acumen, Alexander was a force to be reckoned with in the business world. His every move was calculated, his every decision meticulously planned. He was the epitome of a self-made man, rising from humble beginnings to the pinnacle of success. He moved through a world of high-stakes deals and exclusive parties, a world away from the life of his receptionist, Emily Carter. While Alexander navigated the glittering social circles and intense boardroom negotiations, Emily worked diligently behind the scenes, ensuring everything ran smoothly. Emily, a bright, bubbly girl with a heart of gold, was the silent engine that kept Alexander's chaotic world running smoothly. Her cheerful demeanor and unwavering dedication made her an indispensable part of his team. She was always there, a steady presence in the whirlwind of Alexander's life. She organized his schedule, fielded calls from frantic investors, and always had a smile on her face. No task was too big or too small for Emily. She handled everything with grace and efficiency, making sure that Alexander could focus on the bigger picture. They inhabited different worlds, connected only by the sleek glass desk in Alexander's office. While Alexander's world was one of power and prestige, Emily's was one of hard work and dedication. Yet despite their differences, there was a mutual respect and understanding between them. One day, Alexander's world turned upside down. A sudden realization hit him like a bolt of lightning. He needed a date, a last-minute +1 for the most coveted gala dinner of the year. It was an event that could make or break his latest business deal, and he couldn't afford to go alone. The gala was the talk of the town, an elegant affair attended by the who's who of the business world. It was a night of glamour and networking, where deals were made over champagne and caviar. Alexander knew he needed to make a strong impression, and having the right date was crucial. His gaze fell upon Emily, her head bent over a pile of paperwork. She was focused, diligent, and completely unaware of the storm brewing in Alexander's mind. In that moment, an idea, impulsive and outrageous, popped into his head. It was a gamble, but one he was willing to take. An idea, impulsive and outrageous, popped into his head. He knew it was a long shot, but something about it felt right. He needed someone he could trust, someone who could handle the pressure and the scrutiny. And who better than Emily, the woman who had been his rock through thick and thin? "Emily!" he barked, his voice echoing in the silence of the office. "You're coming with me." The words hung in the air, a command that left no room for argument. Emily looked up, surprised and confused, but there was no mistaking the determination in Alexander's eyes. This was going to be a night to remember. Emily's head shot up, her eyes wide with surprise. "Me, sir?" she stammered, her fingers tightening around a stray paperclip. "To the gala?" Alexander, used to his request being met with immediate compliance, was taken aback by her hesitation. "Yes, Emily, the gala," he said, his voice softening slightly. "Unless you have other plans." The truth was, Emily had other plans. A quiet evening at home, a good book, and a cup of chamomile tea, a far cry from the glittering world of champagne and diamonds that awaited her at the gala. But something in Alexander's eyes, a flicker of vulnerability perhaps, made her agree. The ballroom shimmered. Crystal chandeliers cast a warm glow over the elegantly dressed guests. Diamonds sparkled, champagne flowed, and gossip, the preferred currency of the elite, hung heavy in the air. Emily, in a simple yet elegant black dress, felt like a fish out of water. She stuck close to Alexander, her hand clutching his arm as whispers followed them through the room. Who is she? Alexander Cavendish with his receptionist. The stares were like pinpricks, making Emily acutely aware of her place in this world, a world she didn't belong to. Dinner was announced, a symphony of clinking silverware and hushed conversations. Alexander, lost in conversation with a potential investor, didn't notice the way Emily's hand trembled as she took a sip of water. The speeches began. Praises for Alexander, his business acumen, his philanthropy. Emily watched him, his face illuminated by the spotlight, and felt a surge of pride. He was more than just a demanding boss. He was a man trying to make a difference. Then it happened. The unexpected. The MC, his voice booming across the silent ballroom, announced, "And now a few words from our guest of honor's very special guest, Miss Emily Carter." The room held its breath. The air was thick with anticipation, a palpable tension that seemed to grip every heart in the room. It was as if time itself had paused, waiting for the next moment to unfold. All eyes turned to Emily, her face pale under the harsh glare of the spotlight. She stood at the center of the grand hall, the weight of countless expectations pressing down on her shoulders. The murmurs of the crowd had ceased, leaving a deafening silence in their wake. For a moment she froze, her mind blank. The words she had rehearsed so many times seemed to have vanished, leaving her standing there, exposed and vulnerable. She could feel the eyes of the audience boring into her, each second stretching into an eternity. Then, she took a deep breath and began to speak. Her voice, though shaky at first, carried a quiet strength. She spoke of Alexander, not the ruthless businessman the world knew, but the man who left handwritten thank you notes for his staff, who remembered birthdays and anniversaries. She spoke of Alexander, not the ruthless businessman the world knew, but the man who left handwritten thank you notes for his staff, who remembered birthdays and anniversaries. She painted a picture of a man who was more than his public persona, a man who cared deeply for those around him, who secretly funded a local animal shelter, ensuring that the animals had a safe place to call home. He never sought recognition for his generosity, preferring to remain in the shadows, his acts of kindness known only to a few, who always had time for his niece's endless questions about dinosaurs. No matter how busy his schedule, he would sit with her, answering each question with patience and enthusiasm, his eyes lighting up with genuine interest. Her voice, though trembling at first, grew stronger with each word. She spoke of kindness, of compassion, of the small, everyday actions that revealed the true character of a person. She spoke of the importance of empathy, of understanding, of seeing beyond the surface, of the importance of seeing the person behind the title, the human behind the facade. The audience listened intently, their expressions softening as they absorbed her words. They began to see Alexander in a new light, not as a distant figure of power, but as a man with a heart, the human behind the facade. As she concluded her speech, the room was filled with a profound silence, not of tension, but of reflection. Emily had touched their hearts, and in that moment, they understood the true legacy of Alexander. The room erupted in applause. Emily, her heart still pounding, looked at Alexander. The surprise on his face had been replaced by something else. Gratitude? Admiration? She couldn't tell. The gala continued, but something had shifted. The whispers about Emily were no longer laced with judgment, but with curiosity and respect. Alexander, usually so self-assured, seemed different, humbled by Emily's words. He found himself looking at her in a new light, seeing not just his efficient receptionist, but a courageous, compassionate woman. A woman who wasn't afraid to speak her truth, even in a room full of strangers. The gala ended. The guests dispersed, leaving behind the faint scent of expensive perfume and the echo of clinking glasses. Alexander turned to Emily, his usually sharp gaze softened by a hint of something akin to wonder. "Emily," he began, his voice hoarse with emotion. He stopped, at a loss for words. How could he possibly express the depth of his gratitude, the profound impact her words had had not just on the guests, but on him? Emily, sensing his struggle, simply smiled. "No need for words, sir," she said, her voice regaining its usual confidence. "Just remember, sometimes the quietest voices have the most important things to say." The next day, the office buzzed with the aftermath of the gala. Emily, usually the one fielding calls, found herself inundated with praise and congratulations from colleagues she barely knew. But amidst the congratulations, there was a quiet undercurrent of something else. A realization that their silence, their complicity in upholding the facade of the untouchable millionaire, had come at a price. They had all seen glimpses of the man behind the mask, the man Emily had so eloquently revealed. But they had chosen to remain silent, to let the image stand unchallenged. Emily's actions had shaken them out of their complacency, forcing them to confront their own complicity. As Emily settled back into her routine, she couldn't help but feel a sense of transformation. The mundane tasks of her job, once monotonous, now seemed to carry a different weight. Each keystroke, each phone call, each interaction with a colleague was imbued with a newfound sense of purpose and confidence. She was no longer just a cog in the machine. She was a woman who had glimpsed a different world, a world where her voice mattered. The memory of the gala lingered like the scent of champagne, intoxicating and unforgettable. It was a night that had opened her eyes to possibilities she had never considered. The elegance, the conversations, the connections, it all felt like a dream, yet it was real, and it had left an indelible mark on her soul. The experience had changed her, fundamentally altering her perception of herself and her place in the world. She found herself reflecting on the moments that had led her to this point, the choices she had made, and the paths she had taken. It was as if the gala had been a catalyst, igniting a spark within her that she hadn't known existed. It had given her a taste of a world she never thought she'd inhabit, a world of luxury and influence. She had always seen herself as an outsider, someone who didn't belong in such circles. But that night, she realized that the barriers were not as insurmountable as she had believed. She had danced, laughed, and conversed with people she had once only seen from afar. But more importantly, it had shown her the power of her own voice. She had spoken up, shared her thoughts, and people had listened. It was a revelation, a moment of clarity that made her understand the impact she could have. Her words had weight, her opinions mattered, and she had the ability to influence those around her. The power to challenge perceptions, to reveal hidden truths, and to make even the most powerful people in the room stop and listen. She had always thought of herself as a background character in the story of her life. But now she saw that she could be the protagonist, the one who drives the narrative forward, and to make even the most powerful people in the room stop and listen. The gala had been a stage, and she had performed brilliantly, capturing the attention of those who mattered. It was a heady feeling, one that she wanted to hold on to and carry with her into her everyday life. The gala had been a night of surprises, a night where the unexpected became the norm. She had stepped out of her comfort zone and into a world of wonder and excitement. It was a night that had blurred the lines between reality and fantasy, leaving her with memories that would last a lifetime. A night where the lines between worlds blurred, where people from different backgrounds and social strata came together in a celebration of life and possibility. It was a reminder that the divisions we create are often artificial and that true connection transcends those boundaries. And the quietest voice echoed the loudest. In a room full of powerful voices, it was often the softest one that made the most impact. Emily had learned that her voice, though quiet, could resonate deeply and profoundly, and in the shimmering reflection of the champagne glass, she saw a new version of herself. A woman who was no longer content to stay in the background, but one who was ready to step into the spotlight. Emily saw a glimpse of her own reflection, a reflection that was not just a receptionist, but a woman of substance and strength. She saw potential, ambition, and a future that was hers to shape. No longer just a receptionist, but a woman who had found her voice. A woman who had discovered her own power and was ready to use it to carve out her own path. But a woman who had found her voice. A voice that would no longer be silenced, a voice that would speak up, challenge, and inspire. Emily was ready to embrace this new chapter of her life with confidence and determination.